Faith is not a feeling. Faith is not emotion. Faith is a force, a spiritual law, and until you learn how to operate it, life will keep giving you what you fear instead of what you believe. Let's talk today about how to strengthen this force so your life finally starts to align with the vision inside you. You're not weak. You're just undeveloped in your faith. But that's about to change. Right now, understand what faith really is. Faith is not magic, and it's not a wish. It's the most powerful force on earth because it connects you to something greater than your current circumstances. Faith is not hoping something will happen. It's knowing that it already has, even if your eyes haven't seen it yet. That's why real faith always looks unreasonable to the average person, because it doesn't operate in the realm of the visible. It lives in the invisible. And the problem with many people is they keep trying to strengthen their faith while still depending on their five senses. But faith doesn't work with eyes. Faith works with vision. It doesn't respond to sight, it responds to trust. Look around your life right now. The job you hate, the relationships that drain you, the dreams you keep pushing off, all of that is evidence of the level of faith you've been operating in. You've accepted less because somewhere deep inside, you doubted that more was possible for you. But let me tell you something, faith isn't just for preachers and spiritual giants. It's for everyday people, for single mothers waking up at 5 a.m. just to hold the household together. It's for young people trying to break generational patterns of poverty and silence. It's for entrepreneurs with empty pockets but million-dollar visions. Faith is the power tool you've been sleeping on, and now it's time to plug in. Every single person you admire, the people who built things, changed lives, shifted cultures, they had to believe in what they couldn't see. They had to operate in the dark. That's what faith does. It gives you the courage to walk through a door you've never seen open, trusting that it will swing wide when you get there, not before. And this is where many people miss it. They want guarantees before they move. But faith doesn't work with guarantees. It works with obedience. Think about the farmer. He tills the ground, waters the soil, and plants a seed all before ever seeing the harvest. That seed is invisible beneath the dirt. But every day he wakes up and waters it. Every day he believes that something is happening, even when nothing is visible. That's faith. It's the discipline of believing in progress before it's proven. It's trusting the process even when the process is silent. You don't need more money, more followers, more approval. You need more faith, because faith will push you to act before everything is perfect. And here's the truth, things will never be perfect. The stars won't always align. But your faith doesn't care about alignment, it creates alignment. Faith doesn't wait for opportunity, it creates opportunity. When you truly understand what faith is, you stop waiting for signs and start moving with strategy. Because you realize the sign was the desire that wouldn't leave your heart, a dream that kept whispering in the middle of the night. The idea that made you uncomfortable but wouldn't die. That was your sign. And faith says, if it was planted in me, it must be possible through me. Let me bring it to your level. If you've ever gotten in your car with the tank on empty, but drove anyway because you believed there was just enough to get to the gas station, that's faith. If you've ever loaned someone money knowing they probably wouldn't pay you back, but you did it anyway because your heart said help, that's faith. If you've ever gone to bed with a broken heart, but woke up with hope to try again, that's faith. It shows up in your decisions, not just your declarations. The reason your life hasn't shifted is not because God isn't working. It's because your faith has been frozen. It's been stuck in neutral, waiting for evidence when it should have been fueled by belief. And belief is a decision. It's not a feeling. You don't wait to feel confident. You decide to believe, and confidence follows. You don't wait to feel ready. You move in faith, and readiness finds you on the journey. Too many people sit on dreams for decades because they're waiting for something to confirm what they already know in their spirit. You already know you're not average. You already know that job isn't your final destination. You already know that relationship is draining your destiny. But fear has become more familiar than faith. So you keep rehearsing your limitations instead of declaring your liberation. Faith says, I'm not asking for permission anymore. Faith says, even if I fall, at least I fell forward. Faith says, I'm not waiting for applause. I'm answering the call. Faith is not an accessory you wear on Sundays. It's a lifestyle you carry every day. It's in the way you talk, walk, plan, and expect. It's the quiet confidence in your eyes that says, it's already mine, I'm just walking toward it. It's the inner posture that refuses to be shaken even when everything around you is unstable. It's waking up and choosing to believe that something good will come from this, not because of what you see, but because of what you know. And what you know is this: if the vision is still alive, the breakthrough is still on the way. Feed your mind what aligns with faith. You cannot strengthen your faith while feeding your mind poison. What you put into your mind determines the strength of your belief system. If all you're consuming is negativity, drama, fear-based content, toxic conversations, or discouraging words from broken people, your faith will never stand a chance. You cannot plant seeds of belief in a mind that's full of weeds. And here's the shocking truth. Most people are not under spiritual attack. They're under mental influence. Influences that are feeding their fears and starving their faith. What you give your attention to, you give your authority to. And some people are giving more authority to the news than they are to their vision. More authority to gossip than to growth. More authority to fear than to their future. You don't just live out what you believe, you live out what you feed. You can't watch defeat all week and walk in victory. You can't listen to people who never built anything and expect to build something yourself. That's why it's not just important to read the right things. It's crucial to protect your mental environment. Faith grows in the right atmosphere. And the battlefield is not out there, it's in your head. The question is, who's been preaching to your mind? Because whether you realize it or not, your life is being shaped by what's been rehearsed in your ears. Let me give you a real example. Imagine a young woman with a big dream. She wants to start her own business. She's passionate, driven, full of ideas. But every time she shares that dream, the people around her say things like, "Be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. It's too risky." People like us don't do things like that. So what happens? Her faith gets smothered. Not because the dream isn't valid, but because the atmosphere isn't fertile. You see, it's not enough to have a dream. You need to place that dream in soil that supports growth. And that soil is your mental diet, what you allow into your ears, your eyes, and your heart. Some people don't have weak faith. They just have a loud environment. Their belief is buried under opinions. And here's the wake-up call. You have the power to control what you consume. If you want to strengthen your faith, you've got to change your mental menu. Start feeding yourself with the kind of content that builds belief, not breaks it down. Read books that stretch your thinking. Listen to voices that speak life. Watch content that stirs your courage. And here's a key: be intentional about repetition. Faith doesn't come by having heard. It comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. That's how the mind is rewired. You don't need new information. You need the right information on repeat. When you constantly hear, "You're chosen, you're capable, you're enough," something shifts inside you. At first, it may sound foreign, it may feel like a lie, but over time, that truth becomes your dominant belief. And when your dominant belief changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your outcomes change. That's the power of feeding your mind with what aligns with your faith. It's not just inspiration, it's transformation. You ever wonder why some people walk into the same chaos you walk into, but they don't break? It's because they've trained their mind to speak louder than their environment. They've fortified their faith by feeding it daily. When the economy crashes, they don't panic, they pivot. When people doubt them, they don't shrink, they stand. That kind of faith doesn't come by accident. It comes by intentional mental feeding. They've created a belief system so rooted in purpose that storms only water their vision. Let's make it plain. If you want to lose weight, but all you eat is junk, your results will expose your habits. If you want to build faith, but all you consume is fear, your decisions will expose your influences. And the world isn't just trying to entertain you, it's trying to program you. Social media, news, music, conversations, they all plant something. And it's your job to choose whether that seed aligns with your destiny or not. You don't need a new miracle, you need a new mindset. Because when your mind changes, your faith multiplies. You stop reacting, start responding. You stop doubting and start declaring. You stop settling and start stepping. All because you fed yourself with words that match your future instead of words that chain you to your past. And here's something deep. Many of you are praying for breakthroughs, but your mind can't even receive the answer because your mental environment has been trained to reject what's bigger than your current experience. You can't receive what you haven't been conditioned to handle. And that's why feeding your faith must become a discipline, not a mood. Don't wait until life gets heavy to start building mental strength. Build it now. Feed your faith now. Speak life now. Saturate your mind with truth before the storm comes. You've been watching too much failure, listening to too much fear, hanging around too much doubt. It's time to shift the channel. Turn up the volume of your belief and mute the noise of your limitations. Because the life you want is on the other side of what you feed yourself daily. And if your mind can hold it, your hands will eventually touch it. Speak what you believe, not what you feel. Your words are not harmless. They are not casual. They are not accidental. Your words are creative power in motion. Every time you speak, you're either building your future or breaking it. You're either activating your faith or reinforcing your fear. And most people don't realize that their life is not a reflection of their dreams. It's a reflection of their declarations. What you say consistently with emotion and conviction becomes your reality. It doesn't matter what you hope for. It matters what you say because your faith is voice activated. It doesn't move by thoughts alone. It responds to your words. When life gets hard, when fear rises, when doubt whispers, when people leave, what do you say in that moment? Do you speak what you feel? Or do you speak what you believe? That one decision determines whether you collapse or conquer, because faith is not the absence of emotion, it's the dominance of declaration. You might feel broken, but say, I'm healing. You might feel overwhelmed, but say, I have peace. You might feel weak, but say, I am strong. Why? Because you're not lying to yourself, you're aligning yourself. There's a difference between facts and truth. The fact is, your bank account might be low, but the truth is, provision is already on the way. The fact is, your body might be tired, but the truth is, strength is rising as you speak. Faith doesn't deny reality, but it defies limitation. It says, yes, I see the problem, but I speak the promise. And that shift right there, that's where power lives. That's where miracles start, when you stop repeating what is and start declaring what will be. Let me bring it to life. Imagine a man going through the hardest season of his life. He lost his job, bills are piling up, and people are treating him like a failure. He wakes up each day with heaviness in his chest. He wants to say, I'm done, I can't make it. This is too much. But instead, he looks in the mirror and speaks differently. I am equipped for this. I have value that isn't tied to a paycheck. I am being refined, not rejected. This is not the end. This is a pivot. That's not delusion. That's discipline. That's not fake positivity. That's prophetic positioning. He is speaking himself into alignment even while walking through adversity, because here's the secret: words lead the way. Your emotions will follow what your mouth declares. If you keep saying you're stuck, you'll start to feel stuck, and soon you'll act stuck. But if you say, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm becoming, you'll start feeling movement, and movement leads to breakthrough. Don't let your mouth speak what your mind hasn't filtered. Just because it feels true doesn't mean it's faith. Feelings are indicators, not commanders. They show you where you are, but your words point to where you're going. Do you realize that some of the most powerful shifts in history happened because someone opened their mouth in the face of impossibility? Mountains didn't move because someone felt strong. They moved because someone spoke bold. You don't need to wait until the fear is gone. You just need to speak louder than the fear. You don't need to feel brave. You need to declare that you are. There is something about a human being who refuses to give their feelings the final word, who says, I may be hurting, but I still believe. I may be shaking, but I still speak life. I may be tired, but I still say it is well. You want to change your life, change your language. Stop cursing your own future with words like never, can't, always, won't. Stop saying, this always happens to me. I'll never get out. People always leave. I guess I'm just unlucky. That's not truth. That's trauma talking. That's not prophecy. That's programming. And if you keep saying it, you'll keep seeing it. You've got to break up with that vocabulary. Start saying things like, I'm being positioned, I'm walking in favor, everything I lost is making room for what I need, doors are opening for me, I am who God says I am. Say it even when it feels awkward. Say it until it becomes your dominant thought. Say it until your energy shifts, until your spirit rises, until your eyes start seeing what your mouth has been claiming. And let's be real, this isn't easy. It's not natural to speak life when everything around you feels like death. It's not comfortable to speak abundance when your bank app says overdraft. It's not automatic to speak healing when the diagnosis says otherwise. But that's the very reason it's called faith. Faith never asks, does this make sense? Faith says, even if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to speak it into existence. You've got to learn how to prophesy over your own life, not waiting for someone else to lay hands, not waiting for the world to cheer you on, but standing in your kitchen, your bathroom, and declaring, I will not be defeated. I will rise. I will grow. I will recover. I will thrive. You may not be able to control what happens to you, but you can always control what comes out of your mouth. And when you consistently speak what you believe, not just what you feel, your words begin to build the world you were born to live in, because what you speak with conviction, you attract by design. And the more you speak it, the more your faith expands to receive it. Surround yourself with faith-focused people. You can't build unshakable faith in a room full of doubters. You can't expect to grow wings while everyone around you is clipping theirs. If you really want to strengthen your faith, look at your circle. Who's pouring into you? Who's speaking into your future? Who's reminding you of your potential when you can't see it yourself? Because the truth is, you become like the people you consistently engage with. Their mindset becomes your mirror. Their language becomes your soundtrack. Their habits start influencing your own. You can't soar with people who are scared to fly. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to start doubting when you're surrounded by people who never believe? You tell them your dream, and instead of support, they give you statistics. Instead of encouragement, they hand you excuses. You share your vision, and they shrink it down with fear-wrapped logic. And before you know it, their limitation becomes your language. You start saying things like, maybe it's not my time, maybe I'm asking for too much, maybe I'm not qualified. But those maybes didn't come from your spirit. They came from your circle. You've been absorbing their fear like secondhand smoke. Let me take it deeper. Imagine planting a powerful seed full of potential, destined to grow tall. But instead of placing it in rich soil with sunlight and care, you drop it in toxic ground surrounded by weeds. What happens? That seed either dies or grows twisted. That's exactly what happens to your faith when you plant it in the wrong environment. Your belief begins to suffocate under the weight of small minds and small talk. But when you're surrounded by people who live with vision, speak with hope, and walk in boldness, something inside of you awakens. You begin to dream bigger, speak louder, and move faster, not because of pressure, but because of presence. You need people in your life who see the version of you that hasn't even shown up yet. People who remind you that your past doesn't cancel your promise. People who don't flinch when you talk crazy faith because they know the power of vision. The ones who don't just clap when you win, but speak life when you're losing. People who don't compete with you, they complete the energy you need to rise. And if you've never felt that, let this be your wake-up call. You've outgrown your current circle. Growth will always demand a greater environment. Some people will say, but I've known them for years. Let me tell you something real. Longevity doesn't equal loyalty to your destiny. Just because they've been with you doesn't mean they're for you. And sometimes faith requires you to walk away from familiar faces to find your future tribe. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about being aligned with your assignment. You can't afford to keep entertaining energy that's subtracting your strength. You can love people from a distance and still protect your destiny up close. Think about the moments in your life when you felt unstoppable. I promise you, those were moments surrounded by the right people. The ones who reminded you of who you are when the world tried to make you forget. Maybe it was a mentor who saw greatness when you saw failure. Maybe it was a friend who didn't let you settle when quitting looked easier. Maybe it was a stranger whose words hit your spirit like lightning and sparked something inside. Those are not coincidences. Those are confirmations. Strength grows in community. Belief is strengthened by environment. You want to go to the next level, then start doing inventory. Who calls you higher? Who checks your mindset? Who celebrates your progress and still pushes you for more? And on the flip side, who drains you? Who plants seeds of doubt? Who only shows up when they need something, but never when you need support? This is not about ego. This is about elevation. If your circle doesn't challenge you, inspire you, or push you, then it's not a circle. It's a cage. And cages don't develop eagles. They clip their wings and call it protection. I remember hearing about a young man who had a dream to become a speaker. He told his friends, and they laughed, told him he stutters too much, told him nobody wants to hear what he has to say. He almost gave up. But then one day, he met someone who believed in him more than he believed in himself. That person trained him, encouraged him, pushed him. Now that same young man is on stages all over the world, speaking to thousands. What changed? Not his voice, his environment. One voice of belief overpowered a crowd of doubt. Sometimes all it takes is one conversation, one connection, one shift in your circle to light your faith on fire. You don't need an army, you just need alignment. You need that one iron, sharpens iron relationship that fuels your purpose. Because when your faith gets weak, and it will, you'll need people who can speak strength over your silence, who can pray with power when your voice is shaking, who will sit with you in the storm but remind you that you're still headed toward the promise. That kind of faith-focused tribe is not optional, it's vital. You've got to protect your atmosphere like it's sacred, because it is. Don't just look for friends, look for fire starters, look for people who live by vision, who talk with conviction, who walk with confidence in something greater. Their presence will provoke you to believe bigger. Their words will water your dreams. Their lifestyle will mirror what's possible when faith becomes your foundation. Surround yourself with people who make you forget what fear feels like. Act on what you say you believe. If you say you believe something, but never act on it, then your belief is just a decoration, something you hang on the wall of your mind, but never use to build anything real. Faith without action is a theory, not a testimony. People talk about trusting the process, but never take the first step. They talk about believing in their vision, but never open the laptop, never make the call, never show up to the opportunity. What good is belief if it never leaves your mouth? You cannot say you believe in rain and never prepare the field. You cannot say you trust the light and never leave the cave. Look at your life right now. What are you saying with your mouth that your actions are canceling with silence? Are you saying, I believe things will change, but you're still tolerating the same toxic patterns? Are you saying, I trust in divine timing, but getting frustrated every time there's a delay? Are you saying, I believe in my purpose, but procrastinating every assignment connected to it? You've got to understand, action is the evidence of belief. You don't prove what you believe by what you post. You prove it by how you move when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when nothing seems to be working. Faith doesn't wait for proof, it becomes proof. It doesn't wait for signs, it creates them. Every time you act in the direction of what you say you believe, you are sending a message into the atmosphere. I'm not waiting for perfect conditions. I'm planting in faith. I'm building in trust. I'm moving before I see the manifestation. That kind of boldness attracts favor. That kind of obedience activates power. You want to see doors open? Knock. You want to see results? Move. You want to see provision? Start building. Stop waiting for the green light and realize you are the signal. There's a man I know who dreamed of starting a nonprofit. He kept saying, I know I'm called to help people. I know this idea came from a higher place. But for 3 years, he never registered the name, never wrote the mission statement, never applied for funding. Why? Because deep down he was waiting to feel ready. But here's the truth. Faith doesn't wait for readiness. Faith creates readiness. One day he finally acted. He printed a cheap flyer, booked a small room, and started teaching financial literacy to 5 people. Today, that nonprofit is impacting thousands. What changed? Not the vision, the action. Action doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It doesn't mean the fear disappears. It simply means that your trust is greater than your terror. It means that even if you're shaking, you're still showing up. That's what builds momentum. That's what increases confidence. That's what develops spiritual muscle. Every act of obedience is a deposit into your destiny. Even if nobody sees it, even if nobody claps for it, heaven records it. And one day, that invisible effort becomes undeniable results. You ever seen someone stuck in the same place for years, talking the same talk, using the same excuses? It's not that they don't believe. It's that they never moved. They never risked. They never trusted belief enough to act on it. But belief that stays in the mind eventually becomes background noise. You have to interrupt that loop. You've got to get up, step out, lean in, take the risk, make the call, send the email, register the business, start the class, walk into the room, do the thing. That's the sound of faith in motion. That's what breaks stagnation. Some of you are waiting for the right season. But let me tell you, you are the season. When you start acting in alignment with what you say you believe, the weather shifts, the ground responds, the timing adjusts to your movement. You don't need a forecast, you need faith cast. And faith says, I may not know how it all work out, but I'm moving anyway. Because belief without works is a body without breath. It looks alive, but it can't build, it can't grow, it can't transform. And don't confuse activity with alignment. Business is not the same as obedience. You can run in circles and still go nowhere. Acting on your faith means moving in the right direction, even if it's slow, even if it's one step at a time. That's how skyscrapers rise, one brick, then another. Don't let the size of the dream paralyze you. Start with what's in your hand. Speak what you believe, then act like it's already unfolding. Set the meeting, write the plan, build the product, create the outline. Read the book, show the discipline, make the sacrifice. You don't have to finish the whole race today. Just take one faithful step. And here's something real. People might not understand your movement. They might say, why are you working so hard when there's no guarantee? Why are you still believing when it looks impossible? But faith never needed consensus. It only needs conviction. Conviction strong enough to carry action. And when you act on that kind of belief, even heaven leans in. Even nature starts cooperating. Even delay becomes development. Even silence becomes strategy. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you think. It responds to what you do about what you believe. You don't need louder declarations. You need stronger demonstration. Every day you wake up and act like the thing is already yours, you're attracting it. You're aligning with it. You're creating space for it. So stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start saying, what if it does? What if your next step is the one that shifts everything? What if the small yes you say today leads to the open door tomorrow? What if your willingness to act in faith is the very thing the breakthrough has been waiting on? Starve your doubts with daily discipline. Every great destiny is on the other side of daily discipline. And if you don't develop discipline, doubt will dominate your mind like a thief in your house. Doubt feeds off your delay. It grows in your excuses. It thrives when you keep saying, I'll start tomorrow. But here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Tomorrow is not the answer. Discipline is. And not the kind of discipline that shows up once a week when you feel inspired. I'm talking about daily, committed, non-negotiable action that makes doubt starve to death in the presence of consistency. Let's be real. Doubt never screams in the morning when you're fired up with motivation. It whispers at night when no one is watching. When the room is quiet and your goals feel far away. When your progress seems invisible, that's when discipline has to take over. When emotion fades, discipline must rise. Because if you're waiting to feel like it, you'll never do it. Your feelings are not the driver, your discipline is. That's why so many people start strong and finish silent. They built on passion but never poured the foundation of practice. Discipline is the gym membership of your mind. It builds strength that doubt can't bench press. When you do something every day, even when it's hard, you're telling your brain, I'm in charge here.
Not fear,
Not distraction. Me, that's power. That's how empires are built, not by grand gestures, but by daily bricks laid in silence. You want to know the secret to success? It's not hype, it's not talent. It's showing up when nobody's clapping. It's putting in the reps when your results aren't trending. It's being consistent when quitting would be more convenient. Take a look at your life. Where are your doubts growing the fastest? That's probably the place where your discipline is the weakest. Doubt eats where there's no fence of consistency. If you're not showing up every day for your vision, your doubt is eating at it every night. Discipline builds the fence. It says, this is sacred ground. I'm showing up even when I don't see the harvest yet, because I'm a farmer, not a fortune teller. Farmers don't doubt the seed just because they can't see the fruit. They water it, work it, protect it daily. That's discipline. A young woman once told me, I keep doubting if I'm good enough to become a writer. I asked her, are you writing every day? She said, only when I feel inspired. And that's the problem. Discipline doesn't wait for inspiration. It creates it. Inspiration is a spark. Discipline is the firewood. If you only write when you feel ready, your doubt will outwrite your dreams. But when you sit down daily, even when the words aren't flowing, you're training your soul to win. That's how belief becomes behavior. That's how doubt loses its power. People will always ask, how do I get rid of doubt? You don't. You just make it irrelevant through action. You silence its voice by proving it wrong daily. You replace its lies with results. That's what daily discipline does. It turns, maybe I can, into watch me do it again. It replaces hesitation with habit. It takes the unknown and breaks it down into steps. Suddenly, what felt like a mountain becomes a staircase. You don't need to jump to the top. You just need to take today's step. I know a man who decided to lose 100 pounds. At first, he was overwhelmed. He doubted he could do it. Every time he thought about how far he had to go, he shut down. But one day he said, I'm just gonna walk 20 minutes a day. That's it. Rain, sun, tired, busy, 20 minutes every day. That simple act of daily discipline changed everything. It wasn't about the weight. It was about defeating doubt through commitment. 1 year later, he didn't just transform his body, he transformed his belief system. Not because he believed harder, but because he disciplined longer. If you want to build a life that doubt can't dominate, you've got to start showing up for yourself in small ways every day. Wake up when the alarm goes off. Journal your thoughts even when your mind is foggy. Go to the gym even when your body says stay home. Work on your business even when sales are low. Write the chapter even when the words feel stuck. Show up every single day. That's how discipline becomes identity. That's how belief becomes unbreakable. Because every time you choose discipline, you're starving the doubt that wants to destroy you. And here's the thing most people miss. Discipline isn't just about results. It's about relationship. When you show up for something daily, you build a connection to it. You become emotionally tied to your vision. It starts to matter to you at a deeper level. You begin to respect the process, not just crave the outcome. And once you fall in love with the process, you'll never need motivation again. You'll be driven by something greater. Alignment. The moment you align your actions with your assignment, your life gains momentum. Doubt can't stop what consistency has built. It can whisper, but it can't win. Not when you've already outworked it in silence. Know that faith is tested before. It's rewarded every time you say you believe. Life is going to ask you to prove it. Faith is not a free pass to comfort. It is a passport to testing grounds. You cannot say you trust and expect no trials. You cannot speak bold words of belief and not expect the heat to turn up. This is where most people miss it. They think having faith means avoiding struggle. But faith is not proven in the calm, it is revealed in the chaos. Anyone can speak courage in the sunshine, but real faith is when the storm rolls in and you still don't flinch. Real faith is when the numbers don't add up, but you don't back down. Real faith is when the door closes and you build a door frame anyway. There's a powerful reason why your faith is tested. It's because faith is like gold, and gold must go through fire to be purified. If your faith has never been challenged, it has never been refined. What looks like opposition is actually an opportunity. The obstacle isn't in your way, it is the way. It is the gym where your spiritual muscles are formed. The testing of your faith is what produces the strength to carry what you're asking for. Some people want promotion but resist pressure. They want the reward without the resistance. But it doesn't work like that. If you can't hold up under weight, you can't hold on to destiny. I knew a man who prayed for years to lead his own company. He believed he was ready. But when his boss suddenly left and he was offered the position, the team resisted him. Clients left. The finances got tight. His leadership was questioned. And he said, I thought having faith meant things would go smoother. But what he didn't realize is the struggle was the sign. The pressure didn't mean he was failing. It meant his faith was being proven. He stayed, he adjusted, he persevered. Today, that same company is thriving because he didn't break when it got hard. He became the kind of leader his faith spoke about. You've got to understand Tests don't come to break you, they come to reveal you. They come to show you what's still weak, what still needs refinement, what hasn't yet been developed. The test isn't to destroy your faith, it's to prepare it for deeper waters, because what's coming next requires a sturdier foundation. You can't carry the next level of blessing with kindergarten level trust. That's why the pressure increases. That's why the trial deepens. It's not punishment, it's preparation. If you're going through fire, it's because there's something valuable inside you. And fire only touches what can't last. What is eternal in you will rise above the heat. Think about the times you grew the most in life. Was it during the easy seasons? Or was it when everything was tested? Your patience, your mindset, your values, your vision. It's always in the testing that clarity comes, because fire removes what's just fake. It burns off what was just talk. It reveals what was only surface level. But what is rooted, what is planted deep in conviction, that's what survives. That's what endures. That's what emerges stronger than before. A woman I once coached lost her job unexpectedly. She had bills, children, no backup plan. And for a moment, she panicked, doubt screamed, fear shouted, but then she remembered what she believed, that she was not created to merely survive, but to build, to lead, to create. So instead of folding, she started offering freelance services online. Day by day, she built a client base. That side hustle became her main income. Within a year, she was earning more than her previous salary. How? Because the test pushed her into her potential. Her faith was tested and rewarded, not because she knew what to do, but because she chose not to quit in the middle of the fire. Here's something nobody tells you: before the promise comes a proving, before the crown comes a cross, before the elevation comes the examination. And if you can endure the test, not only do you come out stronger, you come out trusted. Because every test you pass builds trust in the unseen. You become someone who can be trusted with more vision, more responsibility, more influence, more favor. That's what tests are about. They're not barriers, they're checkpoints. They ask, are you who you say you are? Is your belief real, or is it convenient? Will you still walk forward when the lights are off? Don't despise the season you're in just because it's difficult. If your faith is being tested, it means there's something powerful on the other side. But you can't reach it if you run from the test. You've got to endure it. You've got to stand in it. You've got to speak in the middle of the silence, because every storm that didn't kill you taught you something. Every delay that frustrated you built something in you. Every setback that confused you was shaping you for the next level. People will look at your breakthrough and think it happened overnight. They'll see the blessing, but they won't see the test you passed to get it. They won't see the nights you cried, the moments you doubted, the times you wanted to give up but didn't. But you'll know, and that knowing, that tested faith, is priceless. That kind of faith can't be bought. It can't be faked. It can't be shaken, because it was forged in fire, and fire respects what it cannot burn. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide if they're going to just talk about faith or walk in it. And that decision doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. It happens when nobody's clapping, when nobody's cheering, when the stage is empty and the room is quiet. That's where warriors are born. That's where giants rise. You see, people think faith is loud, but real faith is loyal. Loyal to the process, loyal to the vision, loyal to the promise, even when the evidence goes silent. If you don't believe in your dream when it's invisible, you'll never hold it when it's visible, because everything great in life begins in the unseen. It begins in the soil of perseverance. It begins in the moments you want to quit but choose to keep showing up. That's what separates champions from spectators. Consistency in the chaos. Faith isn't proven by how loud you shout. It's proven by how deep you dig. Dig deep when the world says it's over. Dig deep when your heart is breaking. Dig deep when fear stands at the door, daring you to fold. And remind yourself, you weren't built to bow. You were built to break through. You're not here to play it safe. You're here to set fire to mediocrity. You're here to defy the odds. You're here to remind the world that the impossible is just a mindset waiting to be shattered. As Les Brown said, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. But you've got to shoot. You've got to pull the trigger on your potential. Too many people are standing at the edge of greatness with the safety still on. Unclick the fear. Unload the doubt. Fire the vision moment. This is your mountain, and no one can climb it for you. Faith isn't some fancy word we throw around to sound spiritual. Faith is the blood in the veins of every champion. It's the fire in the eyes of every person who refused to give up. Think about the greatest breakthroughs in history. They were birthed not in comfort, but in courage. It was the dreamer who built with no blueprint, the builder who pushed forward with no applause, the leader who stood firm when everything tried to knock them over. And they all had one thing in common. They decided that faith wasn't just something they had, it was something they lived. I want you to look at your life right now and understand this. You've already survived what was designed to break you. You've already overcome nights that tried to bury you. You've walked through fires that others ran from, and you're still here. That's not an accident. That's evidence. Evidence that there's something in you that can't be taught in books. There's a strength in you that was born in silence, in storms, in struggle. And if you've come this far on faith, don't you dare doubt what's next. Don't you dare fold now. The dream still lives. The purpose is still pulsing. The vision is still valid. You've been forged for this. This isn't where you fall. This is where you fly. As Inky Johnson said, the process is more important than the product. So trust the process. Trust the stretching. Trust the pressure. Diamonds don't complain about the weight. They just shine when the light hits. Your light is coming. Your moment is unfolding. But you got to keep moving. Even if you limp, you've got to keep believing. Even when your voice shakes, you've got to keep building. Even when your hands are trembling. Because breakthrough doesn't visit the comfortable. It finds the committed. And remember this, every time you step forward in faith, you're making an announcement to the universe that says, I'm not done. I'm just getting started. You're telling fear it picked the wrong one. You're telling doubt it doesn't get the final word. You're telling the world that faith isn't fragile. It's ferocious. It's not passive. It's powerful. It's not timid. It's unshakable. So stand tall, stand bold, stand relentless. Let the winds howl. Let the storms rage. Let the silence stretch. Because when the dust settles, the faithful are still standing. Not because life was easy, but because their faith was stronger. And now it's your turn. Your test is your testimony. Your pain is your platform. Your faith is the fire. So rise and set the world ablaze.